Amongst Spyro games, the Eternal Night is widely regarded as one of the worst entries in the series, or at the very least, the worst of the Legend trilogy. A derivative sequel that didn't evolve after A New Beginning, resorting to cheap tricks for difficulty and telling a messy story. If the title wasn't enough of an indication, I think that couldn't be farther from the truth. Whereas A New Beginning was afraid of itself and compromised what it could have been, The Eternal Night is a bold, confident step into a darker tone, embracing everything that fans of this trilogy loved Dawn of the Dragon for. This entry is where Legend of Spyro came into its own, blending aspects from classic Spyro titles, but expanding on the basic ideas from A New Beginning to create something truly wonderful. When I finished A New Beginning, I dreaded this game, having seen multiple videos complaining about it, reviews calling it the very worst of the trilogy. But from the end of the very first level, I already knew that everything I had heard, everything I thought I knew about this game, was entirely wrong, and it's time someone defied that narrative. Eternal Night evolves in New Beginning's basic systems, adds depth to its story, and turns the bland combat into something very compelling, with so much to learn and so much to master. Coming out a year after A New Beginning, The Eternal Night uses many reskins of the previous game's enemies and a few reused songs. From what I understand, this trilogy was made with a relatively small budget, no doubt worsened by the featuring of actors like Elijah Wood, Kevin Michael Richardson, or Gary Oldman. The reused assets from A New Beginning are differentiated enough to keep Eternal Night from feeling like the same game, but at the same time, they are very recognizable. Speaking of which, every problem I had in A New Beginning was addressed in some way. However, this game is far less approachable than its predecessor, as it is much, much harder. That change in difficulty is at the center of why it is so poorly looked upon. Going from a game so easy I'd recommend it to a 5-year-old, to a difficulty level that rivals Dark Souls can be viewed as a flaw. However, this trilogy is marketed towards a teen audience, so it's not a massive problem, and having experienced an era where games constantly dumb themselves down, playing something as unforgiving and challenging as Eternal Night is a breath of fresh air. This sort of game is a true sequel, one that expects you to have played its predecessor and mastered its mechanics. In terms of looks, The Eternal Night is pretty similar to A New Beginning, complete with the same animation oddities and the character movements. If you want my opinion of this game's art style, go watch the A New Beginning review. While the art style in general is largely the same, the lighting and tone is distinctly different, which is the first thing anyone will notice upon starting this entry. Whereas A New Beginning was bright and whimsical, Eternal Night is much darker, far more atmospheric, and a little more story-driven. As for the pre-rendered cutscenes, they've gotten slightly better. Spyro still looks goofy, but the visuals have received some noticeable improvements. The lighting, for one, is much better. In-game, the lighting is far darker and moodier than A New Beginning, with most levels taking place at night. Here the Legend series has fully embraced the more fantastical elements that started in A New Beginning, and in general this game doesn't mess around with the story, especially with Sparks not ruining any good moments. But aside from all the small things, the biggest changes come in terms of gameplay. So, with the first impressions out of the way, let's actually get to playing this video game. Like the previous entry, Eternal Night is very combat focused. However, it incorporates far more platforming challenges and even has a few collectibles. The various feathers unlock art in the art gallery, while the dragon relics will increase Spyro's health and magic, indicated by their color. The same combos exist from A New Beginning, except they've been extended and can go on for far longer, especially in the air. Spyro also takes much more recoil from being hit, and enemy attacks pack quite a punch, especially in the later levels. You can't mindlessly mash your way to victory anymore, and are actively punished for it. You have to be careful, you have to analyze enemies, pick your targets, and use every ability in your arsenal. Approaching this game like A New Beginning is a mistake, and you have to make full use of your combos and breath abilities. Speaking of which, those breaths have been entirely reworked. The Fire Breath secondary has become Comet Dash, a high damage charge that burns enemies in its path. Ice Breath is actually useful now, and properly freezes enemies, with the secondary being an Icy Tail Sweep that knocks away enemies in slow motion. Great for dispersing crowds. Earth has become a flail that works well for AoE, while the secondary turns Spyro into a boulder that causes enemy to stumble with quakes. Electricity is now a long-distance attack, firing an orb that explodes with greater power and distance the longer the button is held down. Its secondary is now an electric tornado that sends enemies flying into the sky, and they take a massive damage when they slam down again. All of them have their ideal uses, and understanding them is vital to get through tougher fights. Thankfully, this game does a much better job with its tutorials, and the powers of each element are all unlocked the moment you get them. I defaulted to Ice Breath for a while, but Electric became my second favorite after playing around with it. On my replay, I was constantly switching between each of them, and certain combos can turn most enemies into harmless punching bags. All of them can be upgraded and their secondaries are no longer separated from the primaries when upgraded. The Furies work mostly the same, but are far more cinematic, and I use them much more frequently. There's also the addition of Dragon Time, a new ability that slows everything down, including you. However, you still move faster than the rest of the environment. This is great for extending combos, tricky platforming, and dodging attacks. Learning to use this ability can turn the toughest enemies into easily manageable threats. With harder enemies, more varied breaths, and better combos, combat becomes more interesting and thoughtful. Fights are now dangerous and engaging, rather than tedious and boring. As a result, I gravitated away from knocking enemies off cliffs, since pits no longer give you gems when an enemy dies, and I actively engage with the game's many battles. Additionally, the environments and arenas you fight in are far more varied. In one of the levels, you have to fight some jumping monkeys while the floor collapses. The big gauntlets also tend to have less waves of enemies, so you're not fighting the same enemies for 10 minutes, for the most part, but we'll get to that. Many enemies also have abilities that can knock Spyro back and lead to stun locks. This teaches you to use your breath for crowd control rather than purely damage, and to prioritize certain enemies rather than mindlessly spam AoE combos. No longer is the answer to every fight just, see big monkey, attack big monkey, ignore little monkey. Speaking of monkeys, there's far more enemy variety this time. They now have these little dogs here to show you that playing this game like a new beginning is not how you play Eternal Night. Knockups are far more important for priority damage, and you will learn to use them well, or you're gonna have a bad time. Snail enemies in the first level teach you to air combo more, as well as use your head bash for stuns. The spiders in the first level require that same move to kill, otherwise they get back up for more punishment. Between combat segments, the game has actual platforming, and a few puzzles. The optional platforming challenges often net you a dragon relic, and they are a wonderful break from the constant combat the previous game threw at you. The puzzles too are kinda clever, and a very few are explained to you, making them actual puzzles. While the first puzzle is nothing complicated, I was impressed that I wasn't told how to solve it. The player was trusted to know how to use Dragon Time in a new context without needing an explanation. The breaths too are used in unique set pieces, and in the penultimate level, they are all put to good use in the trials thrown at you, but we'll get to that. Then there's the bosses. All of them are tough and require you to learn them, rather than the meatbags of a new beginning. They all feel so satisfying to beat once you figure them out, and they're all unique from each other, with various different methods to defeat rather than merely breath spam. Each of the levels also have a lot of variety, a great change of pace from a new beginning. Taking the first as an example again, you start out in the Dragon Temple, but very quickly have to navigate the outskirts. Then you fight your way through various tunnels surrounding the main temple until you emerge in the cliffs and make your way back through the mushroom groves until you come back to the burning temple. The level ends with a new break from the usual gameplay, the first of a handful of short segments where you have to strafe and bomb a flying enemy. These aren't too tough and I never minded them, but I never looked forward to them or anything. They're fine. Not very good at them though. Additionally, dying has actual consequences. You often have to redo an enemy gauntlet upon dying, and bosses completely reset. This means that you can't mindlessly mess around and have to play smart in order to survive longer encounters. But, if you can't manage that, there's always the Furies to wipe the screen clean. After beating the game, there's 5 dragon challenges, and they're all some kind of long enemy gauntlet with different rules. Each of these was a total blast to complete, requiring a degree of mastery over the game's combat mechanics. After completing all 5, you unlock Dark Spyro, an overpowered form that lets you obliterate enemies. You still have to be careful while using it though. You still take damage and aren't immune to any knockback, so you still have to be good at the game to make full use of it. And the best part is, it is just as fun as playing the game without it. Easily one of the best endgame rewards I can think of, and it warrants another playthrough all on its own. If my frequent praise wasn't enough of a giveaway, I'll flat out say it. I like Eternal Night's combat. I like it a lot. Far more than New Beginning's endless slog at least. But how does that story hold up? While the New Beginning story was basic but ultimately enjoyable, Eternal Nights is far more complicated and thankfully so much less repetitive. While I was able to predict the previous game's story direction after level 2, Eternal Night is far more unique and kept me guessing where things would go next. As for the characters, Spyro is the same as ever, Ignitus is a little more serious, Sparks is nowhere near as annoying, and Cinder still doesn't get enough screen time. I like her moments, portraying her as rather clever, but she only shows up 3 times in the entire game. She also has Mae Whitman to voice her this time, and she does a fantastic job with the real Cinder. I think her design is great. I already complained about A New Beginning, but Dawn of the Dragon Cinder will always be my favorite. Ignitus and the other Dragon Guardians don't get much screen time, but they haven't changed much. Ignitus sounds a little more tired. Given the context the scenes takes place in, it does make sense, even if it is unintentional and might have just been Gary phoning it in. To get to Sparks, he's still a comic relief, except now he's sarcastic and quippy rather than a constant jerk. His voice actor is Billy West now, who sounds like he cares.
Oh yes, Loverly. He always sends us to the nicest places.
His voice fits so much better and I never got tired of him. Sparks in general has a few serious moments as well, rather than just being a coward. And he's actually allowed to shut up when the story demands it. This version of Sparks I can see being Spyro's friend, and they have some nice interactions throughout the game. As for the new characters, there's primarily the villain, Gaul, and the Chronicler. Gaul is the leader of the apes, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, and he's alright. The best part about him is the voice, but in terms of personality, he's pretty generic. Prideful, cruel, power-hungry, not too much to say. Chronicler, on the other hand, is a favorite of mine. His model is one of the best looking in the game, and I really enjoy the build-up towards his reveal. In terms of personality, he's wise and patient, but he can be enthusiastic, as shown when helping Spyro regain his breath abilities in his dreams. Speaking of the dreams, this is where the main story starts, a dream recounting A New Beginning's ending. The Eternal Night takes place a few days after the previous adventure, and the whispers heard in the final level seem to be disturbing Spyro in his sleep. While he's being lazy, Sparks catches Cinder sneaking out of the temple and decides to tell his purple buddy the good news. Spyro says this is actually terrible news, and they need to go find her. Given how drained he was at the end of A New Beginning, Spyro's lost his breath attacks for now. After a short basic tutorial, Spyro catches up with Cinder and she explains that she doesn't belong. She believes she's still evil deep down. Spyro tries to convince her that none of it was her fault. She was being used by the Dark Master! Cinder is unconvinced and leaves anyway, partially due to Sparks. Before Spyro can pursue, he collapses and enters another dream. It is in this dream that we are introduced to the Chronicler. As we'll find out later, he's an ancient dragon of immeasurable wisdom, often interwoven with tales of doom. He helps Spyro regain his fire breath and introduces him to the Dragon Time ability. At the end of this dream, Spyro receives a vision of a giant tree. When he wakes up, the temple is under assault from the monkeys. He fights his way back to the temple and tells Ignitus of Cinder's disappearance, as well as the strange tree he saw. According to the Guardians, an event known as the Night of Eternal Darkness is drawing near and they should prepare. Ignitus encourages Spyro to find the tree in his visions and points him in its direction, leading to level 2. The first level is a great intro to the game. The tutorials aren't overbearing like A New Beginning, and the enemies demonstrate just how you have to approach this game in comparison. The platforming was a breath of fresh air after the endless enemies from A New Beginning, and the puzzles help pace out the level more. A perfect encapsulation of what you should expect from this game, and what the game expects of you. After some exploration in the swamp surrounding this fancy tree, Spyro collapses and falls asleep again to learn the new and improved Ice Breath, which is used to travel the waters of this level by creating floating platforms. At the very end of this dream, we get a quick view of Gaul and a glimpse of this game's final level, the Mountain of Malefor, also called the Well of Souls. Once Spyro wakes up, he encounters a band of pirate monkeys called Scavengers, spelled with a K, who fight him as he attempts to reach the tree. After some weird jellyfish platforming, we find this tree, only it's not a tree. It's a boss fight. Arboric. Something I neglected to mention in my New Beginning review is that every boss had 3 stages. In Eternal Night, they all have 2, except for the last boss. The 3-phase encounters of the previous game tended to overstay their welcome. Each phase played very similarly, with only slightly increased difficulty. In Eternal Night, however, each stage is entirely unique, and the fights end up being way more engaging and fun because of it. Back to Arboric, this fight is rather tricky, and you're stuck strafing like the bombing segments earlier. The goal of Phase 1 is to light the tree on fire using your firebomb. However, take too long between igniting each segment, and the tree will fan itself off, and you have to avoid your own fire coming back at you, because a fire-breathing dragon is hurt by his own flames. Phase 2 has you bombing its feet until you can knock it off the cliff, avoiding kicks and punches. With Arboric incinerated, Spyro and Sparks are left befuddled.
Spyro, I am the mighty tree, calling you from across the void. Journey hither and vanquish me.
Yeah, I don't think I was supposed to do that.
Only to be interrupted by the leaders of the pirate crew that attacked Spyro earlier, Scab and the annoying pair of birds that control him, and I really don't like them. They were going to capture the tree to use as an arena attraction, but with it incinerated, Spyro is captured instead and taken to their ships. I don't have anything outstanding to say about the swamp. It's solid. feels a little samey after the previous, but the platforming is enjoyably challenging and the combat is very diverse. I also like how Ice Breath is used, already doing far more than a New Beginnings Ice Breath. Overall, I like it. Once captured, Spyro is put in a cell to await his arena battles. Inside the cell, a man with small from the previous game shows up and tells Spyro that he and his people are being held prisoner as well. Spyro is then fetched for his battle against two scorpions. These enemies show up a few more times and they are very tough, requiring careful positioning to gain an opening without the other attacking, or dragon time. The best strategy for these overgrown arachnids is to align them in a line and carefully beat down one after the other. It is tricky to keep them like this though. After that little warm-up, Spyro collapses again to learn Earth Breath, and we get some information on the Night of Eternal Darkness. When the two moons eclipse, for a brief period the wicked souls of this world will be free to roam. Spyro is then told by the Chronicler to head to the White Isle to meet him. Up next is an airship reskin of Tom's the tank engine from the previous game, and holy mackerel, this fight is tough. Every attack comes out extremely quickly, and this thing knows where you are. I'm not sure how I did this boss the first time, but on my replay I had to mega abuse dragon time to kill it. After that, we get a reskin of the Ice King from the previous game, now called the Executioner. He's also pretty tough, but not nearly as difficult as Thomas 2, the Fiery Can, and Boogaloo. After he goes down, Spyro is slated to fight none other than Cinder herself, who also got captured. Instead of fighting, they stall into the arena comes under siege by the monkeys. Not the pirate monkeys, the apes, the actual villains. Cinder's captured again, while Spyro has to fight his way out. Can we please get more time with Cinder? We don't get nearly enough scenes with her in either of these two games. After that little reunion, Spyro does some boat hopping, and after the largest wave of enemies in the game, which took about 10 minutes to defeat, we find the birds and their idiot puppet. This fight is another tricky one, requiring careful dodging to avoid the various projectiles and fast attacks when Scab's vulnerable. The best way to do this is by waiting for the monkey to get his hook stuck in the floor, then smacking him while he tries to pull it out. Phase 2 is similar, except now you're avoiding cannon shots until the cannon overheats, and then it's more smacking. After that thrashing, Scab and his birds retreat like cowards, and Spyro has to navigate the worst part of this level. A bunch of copy-paste warships with cannons and enemy gauntlets. Oh boy. This segment goes on for way too long. Some of the ships are kinda neat, but they all have you fighting enemies or solving some pretty basic puzzles, usually involving firing a cannon. When we catch up with Scab, the fight is entirely different. You have to avoid falling cannonballs and beat up enemies until Scab powers his sword, then avoid his attacks until the blade gets stuck, then hit him again. Dragon Time is very useful for dodging the energy blast from his sword and smacking him afterwards. After making this idiot monkey walk the plank, Sparks punches one of the birds and proves he's actually useful and not glowstick Jar Jar Binks. The scavenger ships is the worst level in the game. The beginning arena battles are really fun and uniquely challenging, but the rest heavily overstays its welcome, especially that massive enemy gauntlet. The final battle against Scab is pretty fun though, even if it is kind of easy compared to the first fight. As Spyro flies away, he falls asleep again, over the ocean. Thankfully, he's caught by a turtle thingy. This time he regains electricity breath and wakes up on the White Isle. Ooh, how convenient! As much as I like the story, it does come across as rather convenient at times, especially with Spyro landing on that turtle, taking him exactly where he needs to go. Spyro navigates his way through the island's ruins, solving puzzles and fighting statues until he can reach a series of 4 trials, one for each breath ability. This is my favorite level. The puzzles for each trial are all unique and fun to do, except Earth, that's just combat. The soundtrack is fantastic as always, and it feels really unique compared to anything else in this trilogy or Spyro in general. My favorite segment is the candle platforming during the fire trial. Lighting a candle flips a corresponding platform, and you have until it burns out to land on it and get to the next. What lets each of the trials down is how they end. A fight against another reskin of the Ice King, and they all act the exact same. Once you understand one, you can easily beat them all. They kind of feel like padding. With those trials done, Spyro can meet the Chronicler. Psych, we have one more trial. A reskin of Cinder from the previous game, and goddamn, she's actually difficult. The Elemental Guardian has a gimmick of being vulnerable to one element at a time, indicated by its color. See, it feels like Metroid Prime. The Guardian will constantly try to close the distance, but if you let it too close, you're dead. What should be a neat fight is let down by requiring you to spam ranged attacks or die, just like a New Beginnings bosses, except dying is actually beneficial there and not at all here. Once that Guardian's defeated, we can finally say hello to the Chronicler, and I'll let him speak for himself.
You go first. Ooh, what's this? I think it's a magic wishing lamp. Hello? Janie? You in there?
This is incredible. The entire history of the dragon race. It looks like it's all here.
It is. Well, most of it.
Did you hear that? It spoke to me!
The records in this hall date back to the beginning of time. Nearly.
The Chronicler!
Yes, Spyro, it is I. And I've been waiting for you.
Oh, well, I hope we didn't keep you waiting too long. We got a little held up back there with the, well, you know, Riddles of Doom!
It was a necessary evil. I had to be sure, Spyro. I haven't had any visitors in my solitude for over 1,000 years.
Shocker! Try getting rid of the psychedelic dragon outside.
You've been here for that long?
Oh, yes. But I have my books, and I watch and wait, and listen for things to come, and then add them to the books of time. You are also written in the books, though many pages are still left incomplete.
I am? Can I see?
Of course you can. This one is yours. Look. You've seen this hideous creature before.
Why is he in my book?
It was Gaul who led the raid on the temple the night of your birth, when Ignitus rescued your egg.
And when they took Cinders.
Yes. That was most unfortunate.
Wait, can these books tell the future?
In parts, though just glimpses of the future, really.
Then I want to know what will happen to Cinder.
Spyro, you don't know.
Please! I must know.
Very well, but hers is a darker tale. Spyro, you must understand, when she was taken by Gaul, she was poisoned and corrupted, made to do the Dark Master's bidding. Her entire life has been spent in shadow. She knows no other way. And when the Dark Master returns, she will concede. No one can resist the temptation. Not even the strongest among us.
I don't believe that.
Spyro, let me tell you another story.
Ooh! Can I pick the story this time?
There was once a dragon, long ago, whose raw power was far greater than anyone had ever seen or could imagine. At first, he mastered fire, which was odd because he was not a fire dragon. Then came ice and wind, and other abilities none thought possible. Is this story sounding familiar?
It was a purple dragon. Like me.
The first purple dragon. In the beginning, he was encouraged, and secrets of elemental mastery were passed on to him willingly by the elders. But his power was limitless. It knew no boundary. It consumed everything. When he would not stop, he was cast into exile. And from his new fortress within the mountain, he built an army, not of dragons, but of apes, and taught them to artificially harness the power of the gems, our life force.
You're talking about the Dark Master.
Yes. And in his dark seclusion, the sheer weight of his malice cracked the very foundation of the mountain, splitting the earth, creating a pit of despair, where the lost souls of this world could reside.
The Well of Souls.
Created by the very beast who now seeks to escape it.
But you said that the eclipse would only allow the spirits to escape for a short while.
Yes, but if there was ever a spirit powerful enough...
Then how do we stop it?
There is no stopping it. It has been written.
Then why have you called us here? I don't understand.
To ride out this storm, where you'll be safe. Live to fight another day.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
What about the others? What about their safety?
I fear the worst for the others.
And Cinder? Am I supposed to sit here and do nothing while she joins them?
Let me field this one. Yes!
No. You keep talking about choosing a path. But what about Cinder? She was never given a choice. I have to try. I'm going, and you can't stop me.
Then I won't. Young dragon, I've waited far too long to watch you leave here stricken with grief and doubt. You'll need a clear mind and a pure heart if you are to withstand the evil that consumes that place.
I know this is not the path you would choose for me, but I have to walk my own path and do what I know is right.
So be it, Spyro. I will show you the way, but you must hurry. The dark hour of the eclipse is near, and haste will be your only ally.
Personally, I really like this scene. It's one of my favorites in this entire trilogy. After following what was supposed to be his destiny for the entire game, Spyro is told he must let Cinder's destiny unfold, and it's a rather depressing one. He defies both his own and Cinder's by going out to save her again, not letting anyone or anything decide his fate or Cinder's. But, at the same time, it's slightly anticlimactic. We spent the entire game tracking the Chronicler down, only for Spyro to completely ignore him and leave with no resistance. As much as I like the Chronicler, his limited screen time here was a little disappointing. Maybe I'm only disappointing because I like him. Regardless, Spyro's moment of defiance had me rooting for him, and got me pumped for this game's finale. It's time to take down Gaul and save Cinder. Again. Under the cloak of night, Spyro fights his way through the mountain, accompanied by a haunting soundtrack. This final level is extremely difficult, featuring tough platforming, multiple long and difficult enemy gauntlets, including the Vikings from the previous game. I enjoyed this final challenge. It was a far better conclusion than the plain white and metallic halls of Cinder's domain in the last game. The increased difficulty also made it feel like an actual final level, requiring usage of everything I learned, both self-discovered and game-taught, in order to reach the end. Eventually, Spyro reaches the summit and dives into the Well of Souls to confront Gaul.
Where are we?
The better question is, what's that smell?
The purple well-plague. It's fitting that you should be here tonight, as we bear witness to the dawn of a new age, and the failure of your pathetic race of dragons.
I wouldn't miss it, Gaul.
Then please, have a seat. Foolish dragon, you are no match.
I've made it this far, haven't I?
Yes, you've been quite elusive. Had I but known that all it would take would be your miserable amity for Cinder.
What's amity?
How tragic, really, that she should be the one to destroy you.
Ah! The nightmare never ends!
You don't need to do this, Cinder.
Just like old times, huh, Spyro? Same as last time. Line me up with a staff.
This isn't over. Don't touch him. The whelpling is mine.
This cutscene is another one I like. Spyro is still on his cocky, defiant attitude from his meeting with the Chronicler, while Gaul is spitting out his best lines. Unfortunately, Cinder gets the short end once again. I like what she was trying to do here, but once again she's brushed off to the side while Spyro has to do the hard work. A small detail is that Cinder is lying on the floor of this arena. It would have been nice if she joined in at some point. That being said, there's nothing wrong with a good 1v1. Gaul is by far the hardest boss in this game, and he took me almost an hour to beat for the first time. Most Dark Souls bosses don't even last that long. Phase 1 is the hardest. You have to analyze his movements carefully and never stray too close to him. Every time he teleports is just as much of an opening as it is a danger. You can try to attack him, but staying in too long can easily lead to a devastating hit. The easiest, but also longest way to beat him is to wait until he starts slamming the ground, then punish him when he gets stuck. However, this is equally dangerous, as if he lands on you, you're dead. It's an instant kill. Phase 1 ends with Gaul breaking the floor and sending both of you to the floor below. The moon's eclipse and the night of eternal darkness begins, infusing Spyro with the power contained within the well, transforming him into Dark Spyro. Phase 2 is much easier, but still not a pushover. You have to avoid getting knocked off while using your newly acquired Dark Breath to whittle down Gaul's health. He still does respectable damage in this phase, but nowhere near as much as the previous. This phase ends with Gaul taunting Spyro, as the dragon seems hesitant to end the monkey. Phase 3 is the easiest, requiring only a single button press, activating your Fury ability. While I immediately understood what to do, seeing that the Fury bar is full, I can easily understand someone that doesn't understand what to do here. I don't mind the ending phase being easier given how hard the fight starts. Nice victory lap after enduring the onslaught of before. And if we're comparing finales, Gaul is a far better end boss than Cinder, truly testing your abilities and making you earn Eternal Knight's great ending. After activating Dark Fury, Spyro obliterates Gaul, avenging Cinder, his unhatched kin from the temple, and himself.
What's happening down there?
Spyro? You okay, buddy?
Spyro, stop!
Whoa, calm down, man. It's me.
I can't.
Spyro?
What have I done?
You're okay, Spyro. You're with friends.
I'm sorry. I couldn't stop.
Uh-oh! That's our only way out!
Come on, now's our chance!
Just go.
Get up, Spyro! We're not leaving without you!
Usually, I would say ignore her, but she's making sense this time.
Oh no. We're trapped.
Ride out this storm and live to fight another day.
Get close to me. Now!
Imprisoned in Amber, Spyro, Cinder, and Sparks would lie dormant for 3 years, while Malefor wreaked havoc upon the world outside. As a whole, Eternal Knight's story levels are a major step up from A New Beginnings. Not once is it compromised by Sparks' comic relief. Every moment is given the time it deserves, and it ends wonderfully. This ending did spark emotions in me. Not enough to bring me to tears, but it kinda came close. After enduring the toughest fights of his life, all to save a friend, Spyro was forced to accept defeat, to imprison himself and his 2 best friends to live another day. A truly bittersweet ending, fitting for the darker tone this entry embraces. Just like A New Beginning, Eternal Knight's soundtrack is absolutely stellar, perhaps just a little bit better. Some music is reused, my favorites being Train Chase, Swamp Battle, and A New Beginning's main theme, while my favorite original tracks would be Scavenger Arena, Gaul's theme, Scavenger Escape, Celestial Temple, Celestial Temple Battle, and of course, the credits song, This Broken Soul, a beautiful song, reflecting both Cinder's regrets and Spyro's thoughts after his transformation into Dark Spyro.
Come, ancient spirit.
Eternal Night is unfairly looked upon, disregarded because it dared to challenge the player. This game did not let the goofy, whimsical origins of Spyro hold it back. It pushed into a darker tone and fully embraced the fantastical elements of the series, to tell a wonderful tale about the rejection of destiny, to not let anyone decide who you should be. Spyro fought to give Cinder her second chance when she did not believe she could change, against all those who said otherwise. His moral victory came at a cost, and he was forced to leave the world that needed him. This game is truly great. Its story, mechanics, and soundtrack, overlooked and unappreciated because of you. Yes, you. Because you were bad at this game. I'm confident you went in expecting the brainless, pathetic difficulty of A New Beginning, and then blamed the game when you failed to meet its expectations. A New Beginning crawled so Eternal Night could run, and this game ran so Dawn of the Dragon could soar. With the combat's challenge comes depth, turning its basic mechanics into a wonderfully engaging system, one that makes every victory feel earned. The various collectibles give it far more longevity than New Beginning, and were a wonderful break from the combat. Really writing the script made me want to go back and replay it again, which I cannot say for New Beginning. There was true love and effort put behind this game. This entire trilogy. And a massive chunk goes unappreciated because you suck at video games. Eternal Night's reputation is undeserved, only existing because people were not good enough for it. But to those who learn it, to those who persevere, it is a truly wondrous experience worthy of far greater praise than it gets. So now you know what you must do. Play this game. Accept its challenge. See it for the great game it has always been.
Young dragon, all our hope now lies with you. When you wake up, it will be a different world. But know this, you are not alone. You have allies.